All right, it's 9 a.m., everyone. And looks like our team is here. We've got Paul Ikeda. We've got another couple guests. I want to just get this meeting kicked off and started. Today, our subject that we're talking about is Sigmatek SX Develop for HVAC shapes. And ultimately, what that'll help us do is create parts that are pretty complex 3D shapes that you can make on your 2D systems. So plasma, water jet, profile cutting machines, and press brakes. And these will help make those shapes easier to come to fruition. Why are we doing this meeting? This meeting is to tell you about some new technologies and new advancements in our technology, how we're advancing the library, giving you more access to those advances, and giving you the ability to make those changes as you see fit. All right, so that's why we're doing it. Who is this to? Well, if you've been invited, all the salespeople here are from the South, from the SEC, and some ACC. I guess, wouldn't you say, Philip? We've got some North and South Carolina folks. We've got people all the way from Texas, and we have our expert on HVAC actually going to join us this morning, and he's from the Seattle area. So it's pretty exciting that we can all be here in the same forum and hear about this new technology. This is going to be a very brief meeting. This should be about 20 minutes of presentation at the most, and I'm just going to highlight what the software can do, what our new feature is within the within Sigmatek, show you what that is, what that does, and everything. A special note here. We are thinking about the folks in Texas who've been under a deluge for the past couple days and are flooded. You're not seeing or hearing anything. Kevin, can you hear me now? Can anyone else hear me? It says no audio to Kevin. Okay, everybody can hear me. Kevin, you might want to change your setting here. It says on your thing that you're not receiving audio for some reason. Do you have speakers or volume that needs to be turned up or anything? You might be on hold as well. Can someone type that note that he might be on hold and he might need to resume the call? So I think Scott Taylor's on there as well. I don't think he can see what's going on. Okay, so the next thing I want to indicate here is that this is going to be very simple and straightforward. So there's not going to be a whole lot of things happening here. So let's just get into it here. Okay. Our subject today, if you're not in the correct class here, if you're not wanting to learn about HVAC or develop shapes here, please step out of the class now. You're free to go. It's kind of like the first day of college here, but let's just get into it. All right, I'm Anthony Johnson. I'm your rep from Alabama, Roll Tide. I've got Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana, and the rest of our team has joined us in the meeting, and they are from all over the South, Dallas, Houston, Florida, the Carolinas, and Tennessee, and then our manager, Ari Brown, is here as well. So that's me. All right, today's topics for discussion. We're going to talk about Sigmatek as the vision for a 3D platform in a 2D world. And that's going to be talking about Sigmatek SX, our new product that you'll be able to see and get a glimpse of today in today's meeting. We're going to be talking about importing different kinds of files, our standard shapes library, reminding you of that, and then our new HVAC develop library. It's actually been around, but it's not been combined before. How to edit, unfold, and bring your parts into Sigmatek, and then other ways to get files into develop into Sigmanest easier, okay? And we're not going to talk about pricing today. I just wanted to indicate that you can get pricing from your local rep, and they can talk to you about that as well. The reason you were invited to this meeting is because you might have the old version of Develop, and I want you to see some of the new features, okay? So let's get into it. I'm just going to bring in Sigmanest. And I have not done anything special here. This is just a standard. I just open it up and turn in the password. Of course, as you know, Sigmanest is awesome. We are on current, this is the very most current version, X 1.3 Service Pack 2. So if you are not on this version, either you need to download it and get it on there and do some testing and bring that in there, or you need to get with customer service, get with your sales rep, and look at some of the options to get the latest version on your machine. But this is where you should be. This is where you can take advantage of those advancements as well. Let's go back into the workspace. Again, Sigmanest is famous for the types of files it can bring in. Okay, you may be familiar, you can bring in a DXF import. That's fine, you've seen that before. You might understand that, hey, we can also bring in entire SolidWorks assemblies from your 3D model size inventor. You can bring in other things. We can use all sorts of data to get you what you need. We can import batch files from an Excel spreadsheet or something like that. We can, in fact, take legacy code and use that reverse NC and bring those files in there, create parts from your NC code. So no matter what you're trying to do, we can bring files in, and that's typically what we had to do before. You could bring in DXF files that would be created from an HVAC develop file there and bring those in as DXFs. Of course, you're familiar with our standard shapes library. You can go pick a certain shape here, edit those shapes very easily. If you would click on the shape, it'll come up with ways that you can edit it and make those changes to the holes, make those changes to the outside, and make those changes and get a standard geometry. But what's awesome here, and what I want to talk to you about today, is our new develop shapes. All right, so let's just click on that and see what it does. So right now, this is accessing our new Sigmanest SX. Sigmanest XS is a 3D platform. And you might say, hey, that's cool, but why do I care about a 3D platform in a 2D world? Why do I care about a 3D platform in a 2D world? That's a great question. You are dealing with 3D parts typically, and you can be able to open and create those and lay out very easily without a whole lot of thought, without a whole lot of tribal experience and knowledge. You can come and create these shapes and just make those simple changes and get those parts in there for cutting. It should save you time in your process here. Now we've got Sigmanest SX open. You can see the standard shapes library it opened up. The first one it opened up is a bunch of transitions. You might be familiar with several of these. We have rectarounds or squared arounds. We've got different kinds of cones and tubes and cylinders. We've got pipes with different kinds of branches coming from them. We've got tubes. We've got elbows. We've got HVAC ducts, square ducts that go from one thing to another. We've got a whole catalog of seams that you can go into, and then we have some miscellaneous parts that you might be familiar with. But today, for today's illustration here, I'm just going to go with the Gourd cylindrical elbow. Why am I going with the Gourd cylindrical elbow? Well, I mean, first of all, it's a multi-part assembly. It shows you multiple parts in one assembly, and I really like the name. You guys in HVAC have really cool names, so I just want you to know that I appreciate the Gourd cylindrical elbow. I wish I had a Gourd cylindrical elbow. Okay, so we've got a 3D shape here, and you can adjust that and look at how that's being built here. If you look here, you can see the inlet outlet diameter is A, and you can see where that is in the diagram here. All right, that is the inner dimension. That is the ID of this hole. We can see the thickness here of the plate that you're working with. I like the slit width here is alternating, so you can say, hey, that's a slit there. There's no slit there. It's on the other side. So you can tell how this is being built. And if you wanted to make a change, it's very easy to make a change. You just enter a different internal diameter. Let's just change that to 7. And then you can hit preview. And it'll start making the calculations, adjustments, and automatically change that across the whole entire assembly. Okay? So let's just say I've made all of my adjustments to this particular thing. This is a very quick and easy. You can tell this is a 90-degree angle. It's going from 90 to 90. You can change that angle very easily. Let's say you've made all your changes. You can just hit OK. That means if those of you who are familiar with Sigmatek, it's like going to part mode and hitting OK. I've got my part the way I like it. Then it's going to take you back. We can go back to our workspace tab. And you can see all of the parts associated with that Gourd cylindrical elbow assembly. All of those individual parts are listed right here. All right. In the workspace tab, there's a new feature that might be different than the old develop here, but there's an unfolder right here. And why I wanted to show you this here in the workspace tab is there's 3 things I want you to notice. This will be, Sigmatek SX will be the common database and the common platform for our 3D efforts. So press brake software, Sigma Bend, Sigma 2 will be all processed here at Sigmatek SX. We're going to have a profiler for beveler all here for beveling right here in Sigmatek SX. It's going to be a common database. Everything will be shared. You're not having to go from one program to another. You're not having to transfer files and export files. Everything will be in one platform. Well, let's just talk about what we're dealing with today. So we're going to unfold all those parts. And as you could see before, there was a little exclamation points that you may be familiar with if you use Sigmatek. Hey, something needs to be done to those parts. But as soon as we unfold all those parts, you can go and see that, hey, we've unfolded them, okay? So you can go in and click on an individual part now and see that we've unfolded that entire part. And we've put the bend lines where you want them to go. We've cut it into a part that you can use here. And it's pretty simple here. You've got your part. You've got your assembly. If you want to see them all unfolded, you can. But this is pretty straightforward and easy to use. You go back to your workspace tab, and you can send these over to Sigmatek. Now, people have a question: Can I use more than one shape in a workspace and bring them all over at the same time? Absolutely, you can. You can bring all of the developed shapes into Sigmatek. So you can make multiple assemblies and send them over at the same time. For this illustration, we're just going to deal with this one part here. We're going to click Done. And that's going to tell Sigmatek, hey, we're going to bring in these parts over here. And they're going to come over one at a time and come on over. And again, right here, you see the part, and it's got an exclamation point, a caution sign. Hey, something else needs to be done. So we're going to address that when those parts come in. So as you can see, those unfolded parts with the bend lines as no-cut parts are being brought in from develop into Sigmatek, okay? So it's easy now. If you wanted to change and edit all of these parts, you can do that here in the part selection tool. You can go in and change the quantities. You can go in and change the material. You can change that to your galvanized metal if you want. You can go in here and change the customer. Indicate which customer you want to use. You can change the number to nest. You can say, hey, I don't want just one of these pieces. I know I'm going to need 10 Gourd elbows in this shape and diameter and thickness. You can go to your grain tab and make changes here. You can have it go grain by angle, use an incremental angle of 90 degrees or something like that so it'll fit. You can add your auto text for the part number. And what we did with the part number is pretty interesting here too. We said, so you know what the difference between these parts are. We have a Gourd cylindrical elbow 1. Of course, you can make those changes. We have a number 2 here. So you can see those changes and make those changes very easily. Okay? So now we've edited the parts. We've done everything we needed to do. Now let's get those parts updated. So we've done everything that we needed to do on these parts. Now they're all good to go, good parts. And the simple thing is, now that we can do the standard stuff we normally do, we can bring all those parts over into a task. we can begin to, we can go into our task parameters, make sure this is all set up. I just want to get these on there real quick. So just put it on there. We can just do an Autonest here, and it will put these parts onto the sheet. Okay. Try to get that best nest on there. Just get those parts on there as quick as possible. Again, if you want to make a change, you can use some of our CAD features to change those out as best you can. So this is a very simple, easy way to get these parts onto a sheet. Okay. Now there's a couple other things I want to talk to you about, and then we'll be done. One thing that is very interesting about Sigmanest SX is the ability, I'm just going to go into a new workspace, is the ability to bring in an entire assembly. Okay, so what we're going to do is go to our import tab here. We're going to go to this, my desktop, and we're going to go into an entire step assembly. So if you can export from your software, whatever that is, SolidWorks, an HVAC software, if you can export a DXF, a step file, we can bring in that entire assembly. And you can see that entire assembly in Sigmanest XS. What I'm trying to say is SX. And bring that whole thing in there and make your changes and send those back to Sigmanest and break down all those parts. So if you design it in a different software, we can bring those in. Okay. Something else that's interesting, let's go to a new workspace. Something else that's interesting is that's pretty cool. We can bring in batch files as well. So if you already know what you want to do, you can go to our desktop again. I'm going to change what we're looking for here. We can bring in, and as you can see here, if you set it up in a certain format and you know the particular layout of how you want these parts to be, you can say, hey, I know this is the shape I want, a cone 1. Here's some of the angles and diameters and lengths and other things that I want to do. You can make it a comma separated file, and we can bring that whole thing in. So we can do that. And what it's doing is automatically creating these parts. So let me go back to the workspace tab. You can see the 3 different kinds of parts, different thicknesses, different material. Well, different thicknesses for sure. And you can see those different kinds of geometry. So this platform is only getting better, but today it's a lot more easy to use. It's integrated. It's all in Sigmanest. It's not a separate program. It can be a separate program, but it's all integrated today. So that's where we are today with Sigmanest SX. This is pretty exciting for us that you can take advantage of this and use it. But I just wanted to open up for a brief time of questions. I think we're about 20 minutes in here, and I don't want to take too much time, but maybe we'll take 5, 10 minutes for questions and try to answer those as quickly as possible. I've got Paul Ikeda on the on the phone here, and he can he's our super technical guy, and we'll be available to answer questions. You can either type those in the conversation over on the left side of your Skype screen, or you can unmute your mic and ask those questions verbally. So does anybody want to get us kicked off here?
Anthony, this is Ari. Just curious, the file that you brought in that was a step file.
Yeah.
Could you flatten that step file? Would that be the next step after you import that?
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah, that would be the next thing. You'd unfold all of those, and then just the same way I showed you with that other thing. You unfold all those and then bring that into Sigmanest.
Anthony, this is Ari again. This is really exciting. I just have one other question, and it might be more that Paul Ikeda can help us with. But hello. Could you maybe make your own HVAC piece in this software?
Yeah, absolutely. The shapes library that Anthony was showing earlier has the shapes that are currently available in the old developed product, as well as a few new ones. And that library is extendable on a user's computer. It doesn't require a new version of the software. However, with updates, we will try to continue to add new shapes as they are requested. It is a bit technical. They are written in programming language C#, but if you have someone in your company that's super into that, it's definitely possible to write your own shapes, draw in 3D, and extrude. And there's some. You would probably start with an existing shape and make some modifications to it to match whatever the customization you're looking for. So, and we've done that a number of times for Sigmatek standard shapes, old develop, and now this new 3D developed product.
Thank you, Paul. That's very good information and a very exciting technology. I'm glad that we were able to see this today, and look forward to getting it out there to our customers. I know we have several customers that are currently using this product today. Very happy with it. So we'll look forward to getting that out there to our customers.
Sure, and it's being actively developed. Sadly, the other developed product, as good as it was for the customers that got it, is no longer actively developed. So the good news here is, as new requests come in, features and fixes will be part of the release cycle for this thing. And as Anthony mentioned as well, adding other modules to benefit other aspects of the manufacturing process, be it tube cutting or profile cutting, and so on. So this is really cool that you can take a developed product. We're working on the bend aspect to take these and just hand it over to the bend module here and program some bump bending to do that if you want, or again, flatten it out and send it to Sigmatek for nesting.
Any other questions? I appreciate the questions that we have here.
This is Ari again. I do have another question I just thought of about the bend allowances and stuff like that. Paul, could you address how Sigma SX is accounting for the bending and the stretching of the material and all that?
Sure. Anthony, if you wouldn't mind just maybe going into one of those parts that you've got there. Like the familiar Sigmatek, there's going to be a material property assigned to each of the parts. So go ahead and expand that part node on that tree one more level, or you can open the part parameters on the right side, either way. Yeah, part parameters, and there's the material. So you'd specify the material as you would by name in Sigmatek. This is pretty familiar. But the material itself is going to have an additional property that's stored in the database. So can you hop over to the Tools Help tab up top, and then there's going to be Material Manager. And then here, the K factor value is what we use to offset off the neutral axis of the material. And this is going to vary per material, and you can set up as many. This demo database just has a few of them set, but for the different K factors, we would actually see a different dimension for the flat pattern. For example, if you unfolded just the flange with MS with a K factor of maybe 0.4, and then the same flange with stainless or some other material with a K factor maybe of 0.6, you would actually measure that out to be different, because the K factor is a part of the calculation to get the flat pattern. It also is possible to use a fixed K factor for all parts if you're using, really thin material where maybe that is less of an important thing to manage per material if you want.
So very, very good. What you're saying, Paul, is that there are some materials that we'll have set up, and then we're doing the training for our customers. The end user will show them how to open up that tech table, similar to how we do it in Sigmatek today, and they can add their own tech K factors. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, you'd add whatever materials you want. I showed Anthony when I was installing it on his machine, but there is a way to kind of import in existing materials from Sigmatek, and you don't have to recreate everything from scratch. There's a little bit of an importer or a utility to help with that, but you do supply the K factors based off of what you want to use, and then once you really set that up initially, you're good from then on.
And on the bend lines, Paul or Anthony, the bend lines, is that something that you can also customize or?
Yeah, so the bend line option that we know of in Sigmatek, you can use no cut, you can use marking, you can turn them off, you can trim them. All that previous capability is still supported.
Well, Paul, I appreciate your work, and I know you're one of the top developers here that's put this product together, and I just want to tell you that I really appreciate your work, and it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, we have a good team behind us, so yeah, excited to.
And Anthony, thank you for doing this demo today. It's pretty exciting stuff. We're looking forward to getting it out there to our community.
No problem. If there's not any more questions, well, feel free to reach out to your reps. Hopefully at this point you know who they are, and if you have any questions, reach out to them. If you need anything else from me, I'd be happy to help you. We work as a team here in the South, and we work very well with Paul and the development team, and any other advanced questions you have, we're going to get those answers to you. But we'd love to have you switch to the latest and greatest SX #1, and if you don't have it, please consider using it, and please continue being great customers. We can't do what we do without you, so we're thankful for what you do. All right. I hope everybody has a great day. Appreciate y'all.